let's set up our machine for free motion quilting. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking off my 1/4 inch foot that helps me piece my quilts together, and I am going to grab my ruler foot in order to help me do some free motion quilting. Now I prefer to use a ruler foot because I can switch back and forth between doing some doodling and swirls, and then I can also grab a ruler whenever I want in order to get my straight lines and a particular design that I really want to do for my quilt. Now on my machine, I do need to change out the plate when I want to switch from piecing to free motion quilting. Not every machine requires this, but mine does. And as you can see, when I press that button, the plate pops off. And I usually take this opportunity to get any kind of lint out underneath that plate. When you've been sewing a lot, it tends to get kind of messy in there, but I had just cleaned it out not that long ago. So I put on the new plate, just popped it in, and it's all ready to go. Now I never free motion quilt without some kind of slider on my machine. It just makes it so much easier to move everything. My preference is Supreme Slider. I've tried a couple different brands and I always seem to come back to this one. However, when Amazon sent me this one, they folded it in half, so there's a nice crease right there in the middle, which I'm not happy about, but I was gonna return it and then I just got to quilting and it still worked. It's just annoying that it's there. But Supreme Slider is the best one I have found that I really like to use. And I know some people say the corners tend to roll up, but I just kind of tape those down with little masking tape and it's good to go. So there we go, we're all set. And now it's time to turn on our machine and get things programmed the way we need to. A home sewing machine, a smaller one's going to be much easier to program than mine. But as you can see here, everything is turned on, and the next thing I check will be the feed dogs. Some machines, their feed dogs go up and down like this one. Others, you just put a plate over your feed dogs, and my old sewing machine was like that. So the way I put down my feed dogs, as you can see there, where my finger is at, I just press that button, and my feed dogs should be down now. And you can see it right there. It means the feed dogs are down. And then you don't need to adjust your stitch length at all. Just leave the stitch length alone. And you can see I'm just saying no, don't mess with it, it's fine. Okay, so it's time to thread our machine. And when I quilt, I typically like to use a 40 or 50 weight thread. That's a 40 weight that I am setting up. And it's a glide thread. Depending on the kind of thread you use, whether it's cotton, polyester, will change your tension a little bit, but I've been quilting strictly with this glide 40 weight, so my tension is already set up. Okay, so let's get our needle threaded here. And some sewing machines, you do need to manually thread them. Mine does have like a nice little lever where it can thread the machine for me, and it's actually one of my favorite features on this. So as you can see, I'm just pressing the button and I am all ready to go. My thread is in my needle. Okay, so let's get started with free motion quilting. So I use a practice back quarter sandwich that I've made, and you can see I've quilted on this thing a lot, but that's just how I get started before I actually put a quilt underneath here, just to test tension and get everything going. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get my bobbin thread up through my quilt sandwich up to the top, so that when I start quilting, both of my threads are at the top of my quilt. It just makes for a very nice start to whatever you're about to quilt. And we're off. And as you can see, I am just quilting some swirls to get started. I never just bring a quilt out and just start quilting. I always practice on something, especially swirls, something that's a little bit more detailed and you want it to look right, because you just have to warm up. You always have some spacing issues when you just first start, and then you get warmed up and your spacing will be even and you're like, okay, I am ready to go. Now when I quilt, I do quilt at this speed. I don't do it very fast because I want to make sure that my lines are where I want them to go. When I start going too fast, I forget where I'm going. Like, I don't know where I'm headed next, and then I do something weird and then I'm like, ah shoot, that's not how it's supposed to look. So just take your time. It's not a race. This is the speed that I go. And when professionals show this method, they also go about that speed. So I just sped up the video and I'm just trying to get through some swirls because we're about to switch into a different design. I'm just doing some loops, and then I'm going to transition into some ruler work just to show you that I like using a ruler foot so I can grab that ruler and do something different, and I don't have to switch out my foot at that moment. And ruler work does take a little practice. I did do a class on it. It's one of my favorite things to do now, and you just get some really cool designs. So that's just a wavy ruler that I'm using, and you can go up and make the waves exactly the same, or you can offset them the way I'm about to do right now, and it just creates a really cool effect on your quilt. So after we get through this design, I'm almost done, we're going to move on to a different design that I actually started with when I started free motion quilting. It's just a basic meander, and I'm going to put that in that spot in order to fill the area. And it's one of the first quilting designs professionals teach people because it's the easiest one to get used to. It just makes it look like there's a little puzzle in there. And I use it on almost all my quilts. I think it's just such a cool effect, a really nice look, and I always get it right. There's not a lot of practicing involved in that one once you figure it out. So I like this one. And then we are going to switch into another design called wishbones. And I like to use wishbones in borders. I've put them in triangles, and they look really cool in triangles because they change their size in order to fit in there. And they're also another easy one to learn, so wishbones are another go-to that I have. Alright, and that's about it. I'm just ending my thread, and I'm done practicing. Thank you so much for watching my free motion quilting video, how to set up your machine, and some different designs I can do, and I will try and get more videos out like this in the future. Bye!